What's up, everybody? My name is Mike, and welcome to Test Your Might News of the Week. This is a brand new show, actually, that we're going to be implementing into the rotation if we were not able to record a proper Test Your Might episode. And because of the Thanksgiving holiday this past weekend, we just didn't have the people to record. So we're going to be doing this short form sort of news episode just to keep us up to date, so that we are ready to record our next Test Your Might with the most current news. And so, if you're listening to this on a podcatcher of choice, please leave a review. We would really appreciate it. Make sure you go to Apple Podcasts and leave a review there. Or if you're on Spotify, you can go ahead to the mobile app and leave us a 5-star review there as well. If you're on YouTube and watching us here, welcome, and thank you so much. Please hit that subscribe button, as we are just trying to gain a little bit more subscribers. Hit that subscribe button. Let us know down in the comments below what you thought of the news, as well as this new sort of show to keep us going throughout the week with some content. So we got some news topics, including James Gunn and the DCU, including the FTC potentially filing a lawsuit, and Pokemon. And so let's get into it here. Let's start with James Gunn confirming that the DCU will be a shared universe of films and games. And so this is coming from Wesley LeBlanc, the news hound from Game Informer himself. He says, Warner Brothers, quote, Warner Brothers Discovery revealed last month that it has hired Peter Safran and Marvel Studios alum and director James Gunn to lead as co-CEOs of DC Studios, as reported by Variety. And now later on, Wesley says, quote, when asked on Twitter yesterday if he and Safran are planning to give more DC characters TV shows that'll add to the story for the DCEU, Gunn responded, yes, most definitely. The DCU will be connected across film and TV and animation, end quote. In a follow-up tweet, another user asked if there are plans to connect the games to this larger DCU canon as well, to which Gunn simply responded, yes, end quote. So, to start, I don't know how I feel about this. I have gone on record as of some recent Test Your Might episodes where there's been some arguments about having some Marvel games sort of be implemented to hype up or be related to the MCU in the coming future. And I just don't know if I like it. I don't know if I see sort of the movies and the games and the TV shows all interconnected, just because a video game to me requires a lot more time and effort. And if they do end up doing this, which they probably will, obviously James Gunn's the CEO, so he's going to, have a true say in the matter here. So I'd be willing to bet that a lot of the video games in the future do become a little bit connected to the DCU. I just really hope that there's not huge story implications from those games, because a game, I mean, let's take a God of War, or even Pokemon, for example. Pokemon we'll talk about later. I've heard that like it takes 20 to 30, maybe even 35 hours to finish some of these games. And if there are some story elements that are going on in this game that you need to sort of fill in the gaps of the DCU and like the movies and the TV shows that you watch, I don't know if I'm there for that. Now, granted, I don't think that it's going to happen in that way. I think that if they do implement it, it will be sort of maybe they introduce like a character within the DCU and then they may create a game out of it. But to me, like, I just don't see a good fit if a lot of the story or even a big sort of story thread is in the game, because a lot of people are going to be missing that because they're not going to put in the time and effort to play those video games that could potentially be 30, 40 hours or so. So I hope that it's not too important if they decide to bring the video game space into the DCU. I think it's cool that I think it's cool that they might have some games that are related and that you can play as some of the characters that you truly enjoy. But ultimately, I do trust James Gunn. I do trust the new CEO pair of Peter Safran and James Gunn. I think they're going to do a very good job for the DC extended universe. I just want a cohesive plan, and I want the DC movies that we see are coming in the future to thrive. And so if that means games as well, then I'm ultimately hopeful for it, because man, you know that I love some good superhero video games, and Gotham Knights certainly was an issue here recently. So I hope that we get some good foundations, not only in the movie side and the TV side, but also in the gaming side with these two pairings as CEO of DC Studios. Next on the list, FTC is reportedly likely to file a lawsuit to block the Microsoft merger with Activision Blizzard. And this comes from Adam Bankhurst over at IGN. And quote, the Federal Trade Commission is reportedly likely to file an antitrust lawsuit to block the $68.7 billion deal that would see Microsoft acquiring Activision Blizzard. As reported by Politico, this news comes by the way of three people with knowledge of the matter, and they stress this lawsuit is not guaranteed. Continuing the quote, the FTC's four commissioners haven't taken the time to vote out a complaint or even meet with the lawyers from Microsoft and Activision, but the FTC staff reviewing the deal are skeptical of the company's arguments. Now, before I read the updated quote here from Adam Bankhurst, I do want to sort of put a disclaimer right here. The Politico article seemed very clickbaity as I was watching the arguments and the subtweets and the Twitter threads coming out of this particular article. It certainly showed its teeth. Like there was no substantial, really, evidence that the FTC is going to file anything. And so the word likely is even to be taken with a grain of salt as well. It's certainly not guaranteed. And so we'll see if the FTC even goes this route. Obviously, they are going to be looking into the merger in general just to see if it is, fair, because they are the Federal Trade Commission. They're going to be looking at that stuff. And certainly I'm no savant in all the lingo and the language here, but ultimately, I just want this to be done. I either want the merger to be approved or to be denied, honestly, because I'm so done with the discourse surrounding this. You have Sony fanboys, coming at the merger, like trying to block it as best as they can, with their words, like they have a say in anything. But then you also have Xbox fans who are joining in that vitriol as well. Like they are not absolved of anything here either. And so obviously, if you've been listening to Test Your Might, you know that we do lean more towards Xbox because we do like their service. We do like what they do for their community and for their players. We will be the first to tell you, subscribe to Game Pass. But at the end of the day, like if Microsoft does not end up getting merged with Activision Blizzard here, like it's not a be-all end-all. First, I'll say, hey, get your own PlayStation. Like, play games over there. Get your own Xbox. Play games over there. Like, it's fine. Like, be a gamer. Be an all-around gamer. And that's what I am. I play on Switch. I play PlayStation. I play Xbox. But ultimately, I think that my opinions on this matter are that this merger is gamer-focused. Not only are you going to get a potentially more healthy Activision Blizzard, we know the issues that have come out of that company, right? With all the lawsuits and everything and all the harassment deals, like that potentially could be curbed once the merger happens with Xbox. But also at the end of the day, like we could see an Activision Blizzard that is more focused on creativity and giving us more games instead of just the annual Call of Duty and all that. Like they have so many awesome and fine developers over there at Activision Blizzard that they are they are being merged into other companies just to be working on Call of Duty or something like that. It really is unfortunate the way that their business is sort of structured. I mean, let's take this for example, Vicarious Visions, right? They created one of my favorite games of all time in the remake of Tony Hawk 1 and 2. And then a year after that or whatever, they were merged into an Activision studio to be a Call of Duty support studio. Like, this is what's going to be best for gamers, is that I think that with the merger, I think Microsoft knows what they are getting with that. They are getting creative talent that can create some awesome games for their portfolio. Not to mention that portfolio will be going into Game Pass day one. And so I want to see an Activision Blizzard that is thriving, that is creating games that are new and innovative and creative. And that is only going to happen if we see this merger. But not only that, I think it's consumer focused because you are giving the ability for gamers to choose where they want to play. If they know that a game is going to be going to Game Pass day one, they're going to choose to play on their Xbox or on their PC or on their cloud device. This gives so many options to players that I believe that this merger should go through. Now, regardless, if it doesn't, then yeah, we are still going to be paying $70 for these games, and PlayStation is ultimately going to get what they want. But the arguments that I have seen from the PlayStation side are just so flat and so laughable almost, that it just makes it like, I just want this to be over with. I want it done. I want it gone. I want to be able to open up Twitter and not see any arguments about this any longer. And so, just also an update here. Activision Blizzard has also responded to the report from Politico, saying that any suggestion that the deal between Microsoft and Activision could lead to anti-competitive effects is completely absurd. This is a quote from Adam Bankhurst, continuing the quote. Furthermore, Activision is ready to battle against any of these claims to ensure the deal will close, end quote. New quote here, any suggestion that the transaction could lead to anti-competitive effects is completely absurd, an Activision Blizzard spokesperson said to IGN. This merger will benefit gamers and the U.S. gaming industry, especially as we face increasingly stiff competition from abroad. We are committed to continuing to work cooperatively with regulators around the globe to allow the transaction to proceed, but won't hesitate to fight to defend the transaction if required. So Microsoft also has the backing of Activision Blizzard in this merger, and so I do believe that it will go through, but obviously it's not just going to go through overnight. It's got to go through these processes. I'm just tired of seeing it. All right, next up on the docket is Pokémon sells 10 million copies within first 3 days of launch. And this comes from Brian Shea over at Game Informer. Quote, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet sold more than 10 million combined units over its launch weekend, claiming the top spot for most 3-day launch weekend software sales in Nintendo's history. The number, which includes physical and downloadable copies, as reported by Nintendo, already places Pokemon Scarlet and Violet in the top 15 best-selling Nintendo Switch titles of all time. In this 3-day number, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet have already outpaced lifetime sales of games such as Splatoon 3, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Nintendo Switch Sports, and Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. I think that the funniest part about this story is that maybe a day ago, maybe the day before Nintendo announced this, PlayStation also announced that God of War Ragnarok is their fastest selling game at 5 million copies within a week, and Pokemon sells double that within 3 days. I am mind blown, right? Like Pokemon, yes, Pokemon is huge. Pokemon has the staying power. It's been here for as long as the 90s. I played Pokemon Red and Blue. And I know that it is a seller. I know that each and every year it is a seller. But the difference between this and any other Pokemon, which is why it blows my mind, is that this Pokemon, and I said this on the last Test Your Might, go listen, go take a listen. This Pokemon could potentially be the worst performing video game I've ever played. It is so bad. It is really bad. Things in the background are running at maybe 1 frame per second. There's pop-in, the shadows are bad. There's glitches where I see a whole different side of the map during one of my battles. This game is incredibly bad. With that being said, it's also incredibly good. Like, this is the first open world Pokemon game. This is just it. I've been playing it nonstop. It is so good. But like with all the buzz around its technical prowess, like I am still so surprised that it has sold 10 million units. Now, Nintendo is offering refunds for a lot of people if they choose to refund, for the technical issues that you're seeing within Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. But this is insane. I cannot believe that it sold 10 million within the first 3 days. It's utterly insane. Now, kudos to Pokemon. Like, honestly, this is the dream Pokemon. This is the Pokemon that like people have been wanting. It's an open world, and it is fully open world. You can go wherever you want, wherever you can go. But yeah, just pretty crazy that 10 million units within 3 days, even with its technical issues, because the word about the technical issues was out before the Pokemon game went live to be sold. So yeah, just really wild on that. All right, that's your news for the week. And so it's time for a brand new segment called Mike's Likes. This is where I talk about something that I particularly like. And it's also to talk about some important topics that I think that, maybe we could discuss down in the comments or something like that. But it is Pokemon related. I have been playing Pokemon Violet, and I wanted to start this Mike's Likes, recurring segment here, talking about how it is okay to like a janky game. And I think that it has been said already. I said it on the previous Test Your Might. I've said it here today. This Pokemon game is really, really bad as far as its performance, but I cannot put it down. It is one of those things that just hits me so in the feels that I am playing an open world Pokemon game, and it's beautiful in its scope and its design. However, the design fails. It like I said, the frame rate's awful. There's glitches. I haven't encountered it, but there's game-breaking bugs. So yeah, I potentially am going to hit a downfall in this game. But it's crazy to me that this Pokemon game could be simultaneously the best Pokemon ever made and also the worst Pokemon ever made. Like, there's so many cool design choices. The Pokemon are awesome in this game, the brand new Pokemon that they introduced. Some of the designs are really cool. Some of the battles that you have are really awesome. There's 3 different branching storylines that you can go through. Some of them you could do sort of simultaneously as you're going through the world. But I just want you to know, listeners, that despite the technical issues, despite people saying that you shouldn't buy this game because Pokemon is the Pokemon company has given us a half-baked idea, a terrible game, I want you to know that it is okay to like bad games, because to me, this is one of the best games of the year, and it still runs at a terrible frame rate. It has glitches. It is not good technically, but it is still one of the best experiences that I believe any Pokemon fan could enjoy. And so please, I implore you to play Pokemon Violet and Scarlet. I think that it is worth it. However, if you don't think that you want to put in the time to a janky mess, I totally understand. But don't let the jank stop you from at least trying. All right. This has been Test Your Might News of the Week. Let us know what you thought of this little short-formed video just to talk about all of the things happening within the past week so that we could be up to date for the next Test Your Might. Please hit the subscribe button. Please comment down below what you thought of some of the news stories. And my name is Mike. This has been Test Your Might News of the Week, and we'll see you next week on a proper Test Your Might episode. Bye.